More than 25 people are listed on the same indictment as Young Thug, and in it, prosecutors used the rapper's own lyrics as evidence.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 times rappers got busted because of their own lyrics.
August, the feds used these lyrics to show that they, quote, refer in part to an ongoing dispute.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most notable criminal cases involving hip-hop artists in which their own lyrics were used as incriminating evidence against them. What are your thoughts about rappers' songs being used in court? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 10, Brandon Tiny Dude Duncan. San Diego rapper Brandon Duncan, who goes by the stage name Tiny Dude, released his fourth studio album No Safety in 2014. Featuring lyrics that reportedly alluded to criminal activity and an album art that displayed a gun and bullets. No Safety was used to build a case against Duncan.
Cook J hard and move it through the city. I'm your neighborhood dope man, conspiracy paper with me.
The rapper was charged with gang conspiracy in relation to a couple of shootings that occurred in 2013 and 2014 and faced life in prison if convicted.
The complaint, based on a little-known statute making it illegal to gain from gang activities, alleges he did willfully promote, further, assist, and benefit from criminal conduct by members of that gang.
Although they agreed that Duncan was not directly involved in the incidents, prosecutors sought to use his lyrics to prove he promoted and benefited from gang violence. Ultimately, Duncan was cleared of the charges after the case was thrown out by a judge.
A San Diego judge dropped charges against rapper Brandon Duncan, also known as Tiny Dude, and co-defendant Aaron Harvey, citing a lack of evidence.
Number 9, Vontae Skinner. In 2008, aspiring rapper Vontae Skinner was found guilty of attempted murder and sentenced to 30 years in prison. As a significant part of their evidence, prosecutors read the jury 13 pages of violent lyrics penned by Skinner, some of which were reportedly written years before the incident.
But prosecutors introduced them, and a judge allowed them, in order to demonstrate Skinner's alleged motive and intent to commit violent acts.
This seemed to have swayed the jury into convicting Skinner. At least that was what judges in an appellate court thought when they overturned his conviction in 2012.
But in the case of Vontae Skinner, at least, an appellate court in 2012 ruled that the extensive reading of his lyrics did unfairly prejudice the jury and made it so Skinner could not get a fair trial.
The case, which largely hinged on 2 eyewitness testimonies, was taken all the way to the New Jersey Supreme Court. In 2014, the judges unanimously decided to strike down Skinner's conviction.
One cannot presume that simply because an author has chosen to write about certain topics, he or she has acted in accordance with those views.
Number 8, Jamal Mayhem Mal Knox. The case of Pittsburgh rapper Jamal Knox attracted the attention of several prominent hip-hop artists, including Chance the Rapper, Meek Mill, and 21 Savage.
In an effort to support Knox, a group of rappers including Killer Mike, Meek Mill, Yo Gotti, Fat Joe, Chance the Rapper, 21 Savage, Rock Nation, and others wrote and sent a brief to the Supreme Court in hopes that they'll consider reviewing the case.
In 2012, Knox, who raps under the name Mayhem Mal, was arrested after police found a loaded gun, a large amount of drugs, and cash in his car. Following his release, Knox co-wrote a song in which he reportedly threatened the 2 arresting officers and called them out by name.
When the officers saw the video, they felt threatened.
The song's lyrics were later used as evidence to prosecute Knox on charges of witness intimidation and issuing terrorist threats. He was convicted and sentenced to 2 to 6 years imprisonment, a decision that was affirmed by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court upon appeal.
Quote, the calling out by name of 2 officers involved in Knox's criminal cases who were scheduled to testify against him, and the clear expression repeated in various ways that these officers are being selectively targeted in response to prior interactions with Knox, stand in conflict with the contention that the song was meant to be understood as fiction.
Number 7, Lawrence Montague. Lawrence Montague, a hip-hop artist from Maryland, was arrested in October 2017 on gun and murder charges.
Lawrence Montague is wanted in Annapolis, second murder of the year.
While awaiting trial in jail, Montague rapped a verse to a friend over a call that was being recorded. The verse reportedly contained lines that alluded to the case he was charged with. Prosecutors presented these lyrics during his trial, and were able to secure a conviction for second-degree murder and use of a firearm in a crime of violence. These charges attracted a hefty 50-year sentence.
50 years.
After Montague appealed to a higher court, his motion was denied by the judges, who argued that the verse's lyrics closely resembled the details of the alleged incident. Number 6. Tommy Munswell Kennedy. At just 15 years old, SoundCloud rapper Tommy Munswell Kennedy was charged with first-degree intentional homicide and armed robbery. The case involved the 2014 killing of Samar McLean, a 19-year-old who was shot in an alley.
McLean was found dead with a single gunshot wound to the head.
2 days after the unfortunate incident, Kennedy released a song titled "I'm Out Here," in which he was alleged to have called the victim by name.
Lyrics include references to McLean running away as a bullet is fired toward him.
Although Kennedy claimed this was actually misheard by prosecutors. Nevertheless, the particularly damning lyrics were played for the jury on the last day of testimony, and most likely played a part in the guilty verdict they turned in.
How can a person just do something like that and just be okay with it? Like, it don't make sense.
Since he was tried as an adult, Kennedy was sentenced to life in prison. Number 5. 6ix9ine. Born Daniel Hernandez, New York City rapper 6ix9ine has been the subject of multiple legal issues and controversies. In 2018, shortly after escaping incarceration for another offense, 6ix9ine was charged with multiple crimes, including racketeering.
The 22-year-old Brooklyn-based rapper was reportedly one of 4 people arrested on racketeering and firearms charges.
Prosecutors used lyrics from some of his songs, including Gummo and Billy, to build a case against him.
Said he won't smoke, I don't really see it though.
Eventually, the rapper arranged a plea deal with the authorities, which saw him testify against members of the 9 Trey Gangsters, a gang he had been associated with.
The rapper has been working with the feds as part of a plea deal.
6ix9ine was sentenced to 2 years in prison in December 2019, but was granted early release in April 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 4. Young Thug. With such a distinctive style in rap and fashion, Young Thug has continually pushed the envelope since he burst onto the scene in 2014.
Yeah, I done got me a chick, I got a chick. Yeah.
While his penmanship has garnered him awards and acclaim, it also became part of a criminal case that was built against him. In May of 2022, Thug was arrested alongside several other members of his YSL Records imprint, including fellow rapper Gunna.
Authorities say they believe the two are associated with the Atlanta-based YSL gang, and they're accused of conspiring to violate the state's RICO Act.
Thug was brought up on racketeering and gang-related charges, and his indictment highlighted lyrics from songs such as Anybody and Slatty as evidence of criminal activities.
Lyrics such as, I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body. The indictment also tied the rapper to the murder of Donovan Thomas.
Grammy-nominated rapper Gunna was also indicted, in part based on his lyrics, and pleaded guilty to 1 count of racketeering. Number 3. Mac Phipps. Back in 2000, Mac Phipps was a rising artist in the Louisiana hip-hop scene, with 3 studio albums under his belt.
Now you with me, or you wasting my time? And time is valuable, especially when you're looking at it through this perpetual.
Phipps was arrested and charged with second-degree murder that year after a young man was shot at a nightclub where he was set to perform. With no physical evidence linking him to the crime, prosecutors largely relied on eyewitness testimony and Phipps' own lyrics during his trial.
The weird thing is they use lyrics from 2 different songs, splice them together to try to make it seem like one statement.
This helped secure a guilty verdict and landed Phipps a 30-year prison sentence. In 2021, the rapper was granted clemency by the governor of Louisiana and subsequently regained his freedom after serving nearly 20 years in prison.
Be mindful that, anything you say can be used against you.
Number 2. Tay-K. Texas rapper Tamar McIntyre, better known as his stage name Tay-K, was still a teenager when he landed his breakout hit The Race.
But I ain't beat that case, I did the race.
The song was recorded after he escaped from house arrest and fled from Texas to the town of Elizabeth in New Jersey. Tay-K had been apprehended by authorities in July 2016 for his role in a home invasion and robbery that resulted in the death of 21-year-old Ethan Walker.
Afterward, Walker's parents said every lyric had their son's blood on it.
Following a nationwide manhunt, Tay-K was recaptured by police after 3 months on the run and found guilty of murder and aggravated robbery. During his sentencing, prosecutors introduced the lyrics and music video to his song, The Race, as key evidence. The rapper was sentenced to 55 years in prison.
McIntyre's defense team, which helped him avoid a life sentence, argued that though the song was offensive, it was art. They were pushing for nothing longer than a 20-year deal other teens received in the case, but the jury saw it differently.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Rah Diggs. In October 2010, New York rapper Rah Diggs was arrested and charged with a slew of crimes, including racketeering, drug trafficking, and murder.
While they talk about fiction, I'ma spit real rap. Irrefutable, try to dispute my facts.
Authorities allege that Diggs was the leader of the murderous Mad Dogs, a group affiliated with the infamous street gang, the Bloods. Prosecutors portrayed Diggs as a ruthless criminal who dealt drugs and rained terror on his community.
They also claim he was involved in 3 murders and 3 attempted murders and introduced his music videos as evidence.
In addition to dozens of witness testimonies, Diggs' graphic rap lyrics and music videos were also presented as evidence to the jury, as they were alleged to be the literal recountings of his crime.
But could it be something that a jury takes into consideration when they're weighing the credibility of other witnesses or weighing the credibility of other evidence? Absolutely.
The jury sided with the prosecution and convicted Diggs of 21 federal charges, sending him to prison for the rest of his life. Prosecutors presented these lyrics during his trial and were able to secure a conviction for second-degree murder and using a firearm in a criminal. All right, let's try this again.